Hello, my name is Andrew Churchill. I'm an account manager with Qlik, supporting our DoD customers here in the Washington, D.C. area. I'm here with Chris Tran. Chris Tran is a senior solutions architect, and he and I are going to be talking to you about data discovery and analytics capabilities to support the DPAA mission. Advance. Qlik was founded in 1993. We're headquartered in Radnor, Pennsylvania, although we were founded in Lund, Sweden. We have about 36,000 customers across more than 100 countries, and they're supported by about 2,400 employees. We've been growing very quickly, 37% compound annual growth rate in a very fast-moving market. Analysts like Gartner place us as one of the top 2 technologies, and we're constantly evolving our solution. Advance. One of our most important customer segments to us here in Washington, D.C. is the Department of Defense. We have about 30-plus implementations across the DoD, and what this should mean to you is that nothing that you're going to be experiencing in rolling our solution out is going to be new to us. We've been through all of the DICAP certifications. We support the risk management framework, and we have many, many implementations that achieved a authority to operate. We have the certificates of net worthiness, etc., to help you get started quickly. Advance. To focus in on a couple of relevant customer stories, the Drug Enforcement Agency El Paso Intelligence Center is a Qlik customer that uses our solution to report on drug seizures across the U.S. They support representatives from about 21 different agencies, total of 20-plus thousand law enforcement officers. They're coming in with ad hoc reporting requests. Prior to Qlik, they had about 1,000 static business objects reports, but they were able to replace them with just 3 QlikView apps, enabling those 20-plus thousand users in less than 90 days to begin performing self-service ad hoc reporting. They were able to reduce their wait time for those requests by more than 92% and reallocated 50% of their analyst staff to other tasks. Another DoD group that had struggled with getting a complete view was Navy Medicine East, located at the Portsmouth Naval Medical Center in Portsmouth, Virginia. They had really struggled to see who their high utilizers were. That is, who were the people coming in most often to their emergency rooms for care, costing them the most money. In just 6 hours, we were able to pull together data from multiple sources and give them that complete view, enabling them to drill down from to the individual patients, the providers that were associated with them, and to help them identify what might be a more proactive method of care. Advance. So what's the Qlik difference? The Qlik difference is the fact that we are not a hierarchical or relational data structure. You don't have to model the query. You don't have to predefine with IT the drill path. So you would not have to decide that I'm going to go from an incident number to the location down to the aircraft type to the person. And if your analysis didn't conform with that, have to go back to IT to ask them to change it. With Qlik's associative experience, we're associating across different sets of data so that you're enabling the user to follow their curiosity. The result is exactly what the DEA EPIC Data Center was able to do. They delivered a small number of dashboards that supported an incredible amount of analysis across a variety of different data sources. Chris is going to show you an example of how that worked with some of the data that we were given by DPAA for this demo.
Thanks, Andrew. So my name is Chris Tran. I'm a senior solutions architect for the company, and today I'm going to show you an application we built bringing in multiple data sets for DPAA. The first data set we brought in was incident data across the different world wars. The second data set was air loss incidents, and then the third data set we brought in was cemetery information and where our soldiers are currently buried. Right? So when we're looking at this particular dashboard right now, we see 4 KPIs at the top here. We have the total number of incidents at 717. Of those incidents, all of them are unresolved. We have a total of 928 air losses, and then we have 28 AC types here. So imagine, if you will, if I'm an analyst, maybe I want to analyze the eastern region of Germany. So what I'm going to do here is actually lasso all those different points there and highlight those. Notice that as soon as I made that lasso and made those selections here, we're down to 94 points, but then all of our KPIs have updated here. We're down to 351 incidents and so on. We started off with 700 or so prior to my selection here. And then on the right-hand side here, we have a couple of other analytical views here. I'm looking at it by AC type distributions here. Maybe we want to focus down on all the B17s here. So let me go ahead and make those selections there. And again, as soon as I make those selections here, once again, all of our KPIs are being updated, and even my geospatial map is being updated as well. What we call this, seeing how all of my different visualizations and KPIs are being updated when I make my selections, is called the associative experience. Andrew hit on that earlier and what our differentiator is. If there's nothing else you take away from this demonstration, Qlik is the #1 platform in providing you this associative experience and understanding how that data is correlated to itself and other data sets as it comes across. So let's continue down our analysis here. I'm going to jump into the incident analysis view here. Notice we are still in the context of those 94 points and the 2 AC types here. And you can see now a different type of view where I'm looking at the detailed information on the bottom left. I have a time trend on when those current deaths have occurred over days. And then also on the bottom right here, I have an interesting chart where I'm breaking it down by group, rank, and distribution in a bar chart here. Now, when I make these selections, say I want to select 96B as our first grouping, it now drills into the specific units now. So I'm looking at the 339 bombardment squadron, and the 338 bombardment squadron, and so on. And I can continue drilling through just to see how that is now broken down by different ranks here. Right? Now, if I jump onto my next view here, we're now looking at the air loss analysis, very similar to the previous view, but we're looking at a slightly different component of the data. I want to focus now on this particular chart on the bottom left, on the bottom right here. We see loss by location here. Let me make that full screen here. And as I'm looking at this, I see 6 bars here. And you can see here, I see Mecklenburg. And then I see Mecklenburg here as well. And then I see the same 2 cities listed here. But there are differences between these two in the sense that although they say the same thing, they're 2 separate bars, but they're 2 separate bars because of the capitalization of the wording here. So what you really want to do here is that this is dirty data, really, right? It's not normalized data. So instead of going back to an IT person, what we can do as an analyst is actually fix it right on the fly here. So I'm just going to go into my edit mode here, and I'm just going to normalize that by calling a function called capitalize. And I'm just going to go ahead and type that in there and then hit apply. And notice that as soon as I normalize my different locale here, we're now looking at simply 3 bars, which it should be, as opposed to 6. So the point we're trying to make there is that you, as an analyst, can make changes on the fly even when the data is dirty, right? So you do not need perfect data to analyze your data right up the front. So let's continue. In this next dashboard here, we're now looking at the cemetery information here. My first chart here on the left is a breakdown by soldiers lost by war, rank, and unit. I have a couple more KPIs at the top here, where I have the total number of burials at around 224,000, spread out across 29 different cemeteries, their average age of the individuals buried, and the number of medals of honors and total wars in this particular data set here. Now, as I drill down, again, let's focus on, say, World War II, our top war here. And then now I'm looking at it by rank, right? I see United States Naval Reserve is our top number of soldiers lost, and I continue to drill down on this. And now I'm looking at it by unit here, right, by the specific rank and unit here. On the right-hand side here, I see a distribution of where these individuals were buried. And by obvious size here, the box of this heat map, or some people call it a block chart, it's the Manila American Cemetery, is our top cemetery when it comes to World War II and the United States Naval Reserve. Okay. Now, as I continue to drive forward here, let me clear out my selections. I'm now looking at more of a detailed view, again, of the cemetery information. Perhaps instead of clicking on a particular chart, maybe everybody is now familiar with Google-like searching, right? So Qlik also has the ability to search through all of your data. Let's say I'm looking for a particular individual here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the search box here, or the search icon, and I'm going to type in the name Rooks here. And as I'm typing it in, Qlik is searching across all of my different data points, and I see that Rooks comes up here as the last name here. Of the last name Rooks, there looks like there's 7 burials, but here I have a chart here, or actually a list of all the individuals that have a Medal of Honor. There's actually one person, Albert H. Rooks. So let me go ahead and click on that person. And if I flip to the next page here, I'm now looking at the details of this individual. Rooks H. Albert's first name, his captain was his rank, and he was in World War II, and he's also buried at the Manila American Cemetery here. Right? Now, what I just showed you is that we went from a very, very high-level overview of all of the analytics, the summary roll-ups, but here we're still getting down to a line item that is generating all of that analysis and a few other views there. And the next section that I'm going to show you next is, even though we have this great ability to explore the data in these pre-built different types of visualizations, what happens if my analysts or my users want to be able to provide their own analytical views or their own charts that they want to build? That comes into the idea of self-service visualization, right? So let's go ahead and do that. Let's say, for example, I have my first dashboard. Let's go ahead and duplicate it so I'm not starting from scratch. I'm going to go ahead and jump into this. And now I want to edit this. Maybe I don't want this map anymore. I don't want this pie chart or this line chart here, but perhaps I want to draw my own, right, or create my own visualization. Let's build a bar chart first. Let's say I want to add a AAF group as my dimension here, and then my measure is simply total number of incidents, and now I'm looking at all my different groups spread out by incidents. I can see very quickly 96B is our top number of incidents. This first gray bar here shows we do have some incidents that don't have any AAF groups in them. We can even remove that if we want to by removing the null values there, right, to give us a better insight into the data. The other thing we can build here is a pie chart. Let's build a pie chart here. And maybe I want to look at this not by particular group, but let's look at it by country, right? So let's see here. So we have country here. Let's see. The country. Here we go. Incident loss country. And we also want to look at that by total number of incidents here. So now we're looking at by group, and we're also looking at it by country. And as you can see, even though I'm making selections here in my groups, you can see on the right-hand side my countries are being updated. Maybe I want to say, okay, let's just focus down on just Germany here. And again, my groups on the left-hand side update. And not only that, my incidents are updated. So that still plays into the realm of that associative experience that you get with Qlik, right? Now, in our next section that I'm going to cover, we're going to talk about storytelling. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into that. But before I do that, let's go ahead and jump back into storytelling allows our different users and our different analysts to be able to tell their version of what their findings were given what their research throughout the application and their research, right? And to do that, individuals can continue to say, I want to make a snapshot thing. So, and we'll add these to our library. So for example, here I'll go into snapshot mode. I'll take a snapshot of this time trending, another snapshot of these groups, and perhaps deferred and active pursuits. And we can continue going down that path of adding different snapshots to our library. So let's say we're finished and we have an actual story, and here's an example of what a story may look like, right? So in this case here, we've already created a story around the B17 analysis here. Of that analysis, we have 176 incidents. Here's a distribution of those incidents geographically, and I can continue to talk about my story here, right? In this case here, we have a group analysis here of the status, breaking it down by group, unit, and rank. But what happens if we get during a question during our presentation that is not related to B17, right? In that scenario, we typically have to either reschedule the meeting or we have to actually maybe give an answer that we're shooting from the hip or we're really guessing, right? It's not really driven by the data itself. Here, within the storytelling functionality, Qlik allows you to go back to the source. So what I just did there is I right-click on the chart itself, and it highlights the chart that I was generating that snapshot from. But not only that, it actually takes us back to the state of which we were doing that analysis on. So we didn't want to do B17s anymore. I can deselect these, right? So I can continue to deselect these, but maybe I want to look at B24s, right? I can continue to highlight all my B24s here and see how that analysis is done, and I can answer that question directly in the presentation that I'm providing, right? So we can go back to the charts and presentation mode itself, back to storytelling. So that serves a couple of different purposes. The first is that, one, it brings a lot of credibility to the things that you're presenting in your presentation, because your users now, or your audience now, is actually able to see that you did not copy and paste any of these snapshots. They're actually generated by the data itself, so that adds a lot of credibility. The other thing is that you're able to answer ad hoc questions in the presentation itself that you didn't necessarily do the research initially for, right? So it brings you a lot of flexibility in how you present your data today. So with that, I want to conclude our demonstration. Thank you for your time, and if you have any further questions, please reach out to a Qlik representative. Thanks.